Well, I was waiting for that to happen, for recording. But thank you all for coming out. I know it's Hell Week, and I know there's a lot going on. So hopefully you guys get something out of these meetings. I actually just put a form in the chat. So if you have any anonymous feedback you want to share with us, we would really, really appreciate it. We're like getting through the midway of the semester, and if there's things that we can improve, we want to do that as soon as possible. So yeah, make sure you also click on the link I put in the chat to fill out your attendance. We are still keeping track of all your involvement, and if you're super involved, especially at JPMs, you might be able to win a Sweet and Company swag box. So definitely fill out that link. Okay, and as always, every week we highlight either a chair or a non-chair, alternating now, who has contributed a lot to SWE for the week, and this is just a way to really thank them for all they've done, give them a shout out on social media and things like that. So this week, our sweetie of the week is a first-year Cami from Georgia. She's one of our SWE elementary school outreach chairs. She's been doing a great job with our ESO video series and also has been coming out to a lot of our events. So, drum roll, our person or our sweetie of the week is Christine Chang. So, congrats, Christine. We really appreciate it. Seriously, I'm like happy to see you like at our last 2 p.m. making flowers together. It's been great. So, thank you for all your hard work. Okay, and then if you didn't see already from our previous meetings, we've been doing a new fun thing, which is weekly trivia quizzes on our website. So there's a quizzes tab, and you can just take a fun trivia quiz, test your knowledge about SWE. And it turns out I won the trivia. So I need some more competition, guys. Please take the quiz. It like keeps track of how fast you do it as well as how accurate you are, but would love to see more people participate. So definitely check it out. You'll be getting a prize if you win, so hopefully that adds to your competitiveness. And then if you didn't see on our social media, we also have a giveaway for people who tag all their friends in the post. And this month's giveaway is Erica. So congrats, Erica. We'll be in contact with you to give you your prize. It's a mug and a t-shirt. But we're doing this every month on social media, so make sure you check that out. Be on the lookout and tag all your friends, even friends who don't know about SWE. That's our whole purpose. So, yep. Also, I love whoever put this GIF in. It's great. Okay. And then another way we are highlighting members is by posting about all the cool accomplishments they've done. It doesn't have to be related to SWE. It could be an internship, research, anything exciting. So definitely fill out the link right there, or scan the QR code. We need to get this by Friday so that we can put it in this month of February. So if you have any questions, reach out to our awards chairs. And then real quick, we've been we had a form open all the way up till today at 12 for awards nominations, and that is closed now. So there should be a new form coming out tomorrow. So keep a lookout on there. That is where you'll actually vote for who you'd like to receive the award. So definitely check that out. Oh, cool. Thanks, Sophia. On top of it.
Okay, hi everyone. Tomorrow we will be having a Manifesting Your Vision workshop with the Women's Resource Center. They're really excited to host this workshop with us. It's not even just about like just goal setting for school, it's also just about life, any personal goals, professional goals, stuff like that. So I think it's going to be super fun. So you should come out tomorrow from 6:30 to 7:30.
Yeah, it sounds like a perfect break to your Hell Week. All right. Katie's not on here, so I will talk about it really quick. So if you didn't know, in the past we used to have a annual philanthropic event, which was Engineers Ball, but because of COVID, we're doing more creative things, and our VP of Campus Relations and her chairs have been doing an amazing job. And the event we're doing right now is a Krispy Kreme donuts fundraiser. So all you have to do is fill out the form and order a dozen donuts, and then you'll get a free voucher to redeem at any Krispy Kreme. and all of the money will be donated to the Atlanta charity Atlanta Mission. So definitely fill that out. Send it to all your friends. You can go to any Krispy Kreme store and redeem your voucher once you order it and Venmo Sweet. So please share with all your friends. We really want to raise enough money to help out a good cause.
Okay, so also we are looking for new designs for some SWE merch. So if you have a creative streak, or even if you don't and you just want to see what, what you can make, feel free to submit your artwork to us, and there's the link there. And I can also put the links for both of the things I just said in the chat as well. But the due date is February 28th, which is this Sunday. So make sure you get it in before the Sunday. So if you're a graduating senior, make sure you request a graduation stole. We want to make sure that you're able to get that for the graduation ceremony. Please fill out the form by March 14th, so you still have a couple of weeks, but I'll also put that form in the chat if that applies to you. Even if you're not a graduating senior, you can still fill out the form if you know someone who is a graduating senior, just so we can make sure that we contact them in case they missed the form for some reason. So.
Okay, and then this is a big thing that's happening right now. The process is going to start really soon. We've already released the application and we had our first info session yesterday, but we have one more. The two info sessions have the same content. We have two for an option so that people can work around their schedules. So the next one is on Thursday from 11 to 12. That should be during the free lunch period for everyone, so hopefully you can make it. If you're interested in applying to exec board, you have to attend one of these info sessions. So if you can't make it, you can contact us and we can work something out, but hopefully everyone can make it. If you have any questions about elections, just email the amazing elections chairs, Nisha and Rachel, and you can also DM me on Slack. I can add these links to the chat later as well if you're interested. Okay, and then something exciting we're doing, because we haven't really had much in-person interaction, is going to a women's basketball game together. So this Sunday at 2 p.m. we're going to the women's senior basketball game. They're honoring their seniors at this game versus Pitt, and all you have to do is sign up for the free basketball season pass and then get tested, obviously. And if you want to win prizes, you can also scan the QR code. But we'll be meeting at McCamish this Sunday at 1:15. We're trying to get there early so that we can all sit in the same section and make sure there's enough seats for everyone. But if you're interested, definitely check out that link for the season pass. And you can also ask me any questions. Okay, and then another really exciting thing is we are having a new event with Shep and Nesby, which is happening next Wednesday. And it's a TED Talks inspired event that allows minority students like us and also people from Nesby and Shep to share their stories about their experiences at Tech, or just learning about diversity and inclusion. So what's really awesome is that we have a speaker from SWE, a SWE member who's also going to be talking, and also some GT SWE alumni who will be part of the panel. So this is going to be a super important, valuable event, and I really hope you guys come out to it. Make sure you go to tinyurl.com/mystemstories to register, and then you'll get a link in your email for the Blue Jeans event, and I'll put it on your calendar so you don't forget about it.
Hey, hi guys, this is actually Deepthies, but I will just fill in for her. So I know let me fix that. There we go.
Actually, I can probably I have some updates about this. Sorry about that. My
Okay,
mic
go
was
ahead.
a
You're
bit
fine.
weird, but so the Texas Instruments DIY Game Boy Workshop is coming up this Thursday. For those of you who have signed up, I'm going to send out reminder emails to y'all just to make sure that you know what's going on and any preparation materials. Due to some of the chaos that's kind of been happening in Texas. There have been some delays with some packages. So if you haven't received your kit yet, please email me at swevptechnical@gmail.com and we'll try and get that sorted for you. But otherwise, we look forward to seeing you then.
Okay, hi guys. So our next event that is with an individual company is going to be actually with the University of Florida's master program. And so they're doing an info session about their master's program specifically, and then also master's programs in general. So this is probably the one and only event that we're going to have from a university, another university that's talking about their grad program. So I would really encourage you to come if you're interested in getting a master's or just grad school in general. There's the sign up. I'll be sure to post it in the chat as well. Okay, that is.
Oh, sorry. This March 4th, we'll be having a sweet alumni panel. You'll have the opportunity to engage with alumni, ask questions, and hear what they've learned from tech and their respective industries. So I'll put the sign-up link in the chat as well. But that is going to be next Thursday. Yeah, next Thursday.
Okay, the next event we have going on is Spring Networking Night, one of our most popular events. We have a couple of awesome companies coming this year, so I really encourage you guys to sign up. It's a very low-key event, easy way to talk to reps, easy way to connect with companies, so I hope to see you guys there. And I also posted that link in the chat, so go ahead and take a look.
Guys, so as usual, we have this that I think we talked about last meeting, but the high school outreach group is still looking for volunteers for the workshops that we're putting on this semester. So the first workshop is actually coming up this weekend. It's the Majors Fair. So we're just gonna have volunteers talk about their major and kind of explain it to the high schoolers and what it is and what you do with it. So that's coming up. If you want to RSVP, I'll also drop the RSVP link in the chat after this. And then the next workshop we have coming up is in March. So that's going to be our coding workshop. We need volunteers to kind of help out with that as well, just making sure we're walking the high schoolers through the coding workshop, but also people that can help debug code as we're going. Sometimes they're going to have issues, so we might need to put you in a breakout room with them just so you can work through that during the workshop. For both of these workshops, you need to be background checked. So you know you're background checked if you've received an email from me saying that you've completed the process. If you filled out the background check form, that doesn't mean you're done and you're through it yet. If you haven't done the training, then you're not through it yet. There's a couple of steps. So if you're confused about that, then we can also go to the next slide. But if you're confused about that, make sure you reach out to me. My email is on this next slide, and it's swevpyp@gmail.com. And this is also the form if you do want to get background checks so you're able to volunteer with us, make sure you fill it out there. And then if you are in the middle of the background check process, hopefully you've received an email from Accurate Background. So that is how the background check survey works. That's how they know to background check you and can kind of look into you that way. So if you've received this email, it looks like this. Make sure you fill that out. If you received it and didn't fill it out, once again, make sure you email me.
And I know this is a lot of stuff that that's going on. Hopefully you take advantage and just choose what you're most interested in. But one more thing is, as usual, we have current opportunities that SWE isn't hosting, but we get sent from like companies or other organizations on campus. So we have 3 different notebooks with different opportunities. In the current opportunities, there's usually things like hackathons, workshops, scholarships. Professional has things from companies, and campus has things obviously from other Georgia Tech organizations. So definitely check it out. This is on our website and also in our newsletter. And without further ado, our company of the week is Aerospace Corporation, so we're going to hand it off to them.
Thank you, everybody. Can you hear me? The yeses, so that's great. I can also share my screen, correct? I hope.
Yes.
Yes, you should be able to if you I think you got it. There we go.
I've learned so many new applications in the last year. I'm an expert now at everything, I guess. But thank you so much. Thank you, ladies, for inviting us to your meeting today. I'm Cheryl Baudelman. I'm the lead recruiter for the Aerospace Corporation. We are a federally funded research and development corporation. We act as trusted advisors to the federal government and provide objective and unbiased analysis with recommendations with no conflicts of interest to industry, which is great. The unique thing about the Aerospace Corporation is we are solely only aligned with space. We're all about space and the only FFRDC about space. So what makes us very unique. Today we wanted to come into your meeting and talk about a specific topic that's near and dear to our hearts, and that's as women in engineering, developing and defining your individuality. How does that impact your future? How does that impact our future? I have 3 wonderful women engineers in our company, all of them who happen to be Georgia Tech alum as well, which is great, who are here to talk about this fabulous topic. I have a question to go along with it, but what I'll do first is have each of them introduce themselves, and then I will loop back in and throw out our question, and so that we can talk about how we develop and define our individuality. So, ladies. Greta?
Are we going? Oh, me.
You can
Okay.
go in order of screen, yes.
Okay. I don't see anything on my screen.
You're first.
Okay, but I don't see anything on my screen, just so you know.
Oh, okay. I'm sharing. Does everyone else see sharing, I think? I think so.
I actually see just a blue screen. I don't know
Yeah,
if
that's what I
anybody else.
see, is a blue screen. All
Oh, okay.
right. Well, so dancing right along, my name is Freda Lerner. I'm a mechanical engineering graduate long before you were born. And I've been in aerospace for almost 3 years. I've had most of my career in the commercial or in the private industry space, supporting the government, except for 7 years I worked for American Airlines in corporate supply management. And I loved working for aerospace. It's great. They're a big supporter of Georgia Tech and SWE, which I really appreciate. And so feeling unusual entering the room. Are we supposed to answer? We're supposed to answer that right now, right, Sheila? Yeah, when that first happened?
No,
Is that
just
right?
Say that again.
When we first felt unusual entering the room. Is that what we're
No, you can just
answering right?
introduce yourself and then I'll throw out the question. That's fine.
Oh, okay. And I am from Maryland, and I've been all over the country and all over the world, actually. And so I came back to Virginia a while ago, and I'm working in the systems engineering department. And most of my focus is on systems engineering, enterprise systems engineering, and supporting and implementing digital engineering. Take
Okay.
it away,
Leah,
Leah.
let's share my screen. Can people see my screen now? Is that better?
Yes.
Yeah, we can.
Yes,
Yeah.
thanks.
Okay. So, Leah?
All right. Thanks, Freda. All right, so my name is Leah Ruckel. I graduated with my PhD from Georgia Tech in 2018. I did aerospace engineering there. So I've been with aerospace for going on 3 years now. I'm in the modeling and simulation department at aerospace, and this affords me an opportunity to work on a wide variety of topics across the space enterprise, anywhere from next generation ground systems, space situational awareness, constellation design, things like that. My professional interests are in numerical optimization, data visualization, mathematical modeling, and digital engineering. Alana?
Hey everyone, thanks Leah. So I actually graduated from Georgia Tech 2 months ago now. I graduated in December with my master's degree. And I also did my bachelor's degree there as well, graduating in 2018. So I'm pretty new into Aerospace Corp as a full-time employee. I've been working there for a month now as a full-time employee, but I actually interned twice during the summers, and I worked throughout the school year as well. So I am with Freda actually in the System of Systems Engineering office. And funny story, I actually met her and Cheryl during one of these SWE events. So that's how I found my connection with the Aerospace Corporation, and that was 2 years ago now. So ever since I've loved working for the Aerospace Corporation. It's been like my dream job pretty much. It's doing space, and I get to do system of systems engineering, which is really cool to me because it's looking at the big picture of space. So how all the different systems work together and how to successfully complete a mission without too many schedule delays and cost overruns and all of that. So it's been really interesting for me. And yeah, I think that's about it.
Great, thanks, Alana. So again, a question we wanted to throw out to all of you in the room, and in reference to our topic, developing and defining our individualities. Have you ever walked into a room of your peers and felt like you didn't belong? I mean, we're all women engineers. We feel really good about what we're bringing to the table and walking into a room. How have you felt where you are a peer, but all of a sudden you feel like you don't belong? I'm gonna throw it out to these three panelists here to talk about their experiences, just in that situation, because each of them brings a different area, a different experience, and hopefully you can learn and understand, how we can develop and define our individualities as women engineers. Why don't you start? You might be on mute.
Sorry, who's starting?
Freda, I just
go in the same order.
Can we develop so you walk into the room and know that you belong?
Okay, so I would say, so I worked after I graduated, I went to work at the Kennedy Space Center. I worked for a government contractor. I worked as a contractor for NASA on the space shuttle program. And I remember going into a meeting, one of my first, in a remote facility because we had to be remote. We were handling hypergolic fuels on the shuttle, and we were all kind of meeting in the room. We were standing up. There wasn't a place to sit because we were close to the high bay area where we were doing some integration. And I noticed, well, I am way far, not only the only woman, but I'm the youngest. And I was afraid to say anything because I didn't want to insert myself. And then I had this argument in my head. Should I say something and make them think I know anything, or should I not say something and make them think I don't know anything? And so you're going to this conversation in your head. And so I was having this conversation in my head, and then the meeting was over. But I do remember that meeting, and for a long time after that, I was the youngest engineer, maybe a year or two, maybe 3, but for at least a decade, maybe longer, I was the only woman. So it got me ready for the reality of life that I was hitting as joining the real world out of school. I guess, Leah, you're next.
Okay, thanks, Freda. Yeah, so I guess I'll preface my story with saying when the 4 of us got together to talk about, what are we going to say in this meeting when we talk to you all, we really wanted to express how we'd all had this similar experience of walking into a room, kind of knowing that you are capable, but still being intimidated or feeling like maybe I shouldn't speak up. And we wanted to get across the fact that this is a normal experience, but it's not something or we would encourage you to not let it hold you back. So my personal experience is my undergraduate degree, my bachelor's is in physics. And when I knew I wanted to transition to engineering, and I knew that I wanted to solve problems. So I started looking for engineering schools, and it was pretty challenging to find an advisor who would take on someone in an engineering program who doesn't have an engineering background. Finally, I landed at aerospace. Dimitri Mavris, who some of you may know, called me up on Super Bowl Sunday. I remember distinctly. And he asked to talk to me. And he's like, I want to interview you for my lab. So, okay. And I don't remember much about that conversation except for him asking, are you okay with feeling stupid for about a semester or two while you get up to speed? Are you okay with feeling stupid? That was his exact words. And I said, yeah, I'm okay with that. He says, okay, then welcome to my lab. I'd like to take you on as a student. And it was for those first 2 semesters. I got dumped into a graduate program where I was surrounded by peers who had had 4+ years of aerospace engineering background. I didn't know what a drag puller was. I barely knew how airplanes flew. And yet I was expected to perform with the same caliber as all my peers. But I stepped up, and I knew that my advisor believed in me. That helped me believe in myself. And I can say it was worth it. I walked out at Georgia Tech with a PhD in the end. So don't let it hold you back. I guess I'll throw in one other tidbit, which is I had the opportunity to meet Sandy Magnus, the astronaut, who also graduated from Georgia Tech in EE. I know she loves to come back to Tech and talk to folks, so maybe I'll have met her at some point. But I had a one-on-one conversation with her, and Dimitri had gone and talked to somebody else, and Sandy and I were talking, and she says, hey, and this was within 10 minutes of meeting Sandy Magnus. And she said, you know that feeling when you walk in a room and you feel like totally overwhelmed? I was like, yeah, of course I do. Like you don't belong to, yeah, of course I do. And she says, I had that every day, walking into the astronaut program. And I hear that Sandy had that similar experience, and I know she's talked to other people about that, was so huge that I totally looked up to Sandy. And she had that same experience, and clearly it didn't let her hold her back. So that's part of what we're trying to get across to you today as well. All right. Alana, over to you.
All right, so I guess my experience was somewhat similar to Leah's. I remember in undergrad, almost all of undergrad, up until maybe probably my senior year. I think that in almost every single aerospace class I took, I felt like I wasn't supposed to be there because there were so many guys, and I'd never really made any good aerospace friends or anything like that. And so I think that all throughout undergrad, I never really had a lot of confidence in my intelligence, I guess. And I remember always hearing things like, oh, you're aerospace, you're never gonna make it through that. Everybody ends up switching from aerospace. There's no way. And those kinds of comments that people would say would just bring my confidence down even further. And then it's I would start assuming that I wasn't going to do well, so then I wouldn't do well. And I think I really did struggle a lot through undergrad because I just always felt that imposter syndrome, I wasn't supposed to be there. Women aren't supposed to be in aerospace. I was cut out for something else, maybe less engineering-like. And then I think it wasn't until maybe I actually interned at GTRI, and I had a coworker that was a graduate research assistant, and she was a woman, and she was the first aerospace girl that I really clicked with, and we became really good friends pretty much right away, and we had such similar thinking styles. We got along so well on projects and everything, and seeing her, who was a couple years above me, excel, and then she ended up getting multiple positions with Northrop Grumman, JPL, working for Entry Descent Landing, all these amazing positions. And just seeing her being able to get that, I was like, oh, maybe I can actually do this. Maybe this is actually something I'm cut out for. And so that really inspired me to keep going with it. And I actually ended up in the same lab as Leah. I was in the Aerospace Systems Design Lab, and I remember having a really similar conversation with Dimitri Mavris, our advisor. And his question to me was, "Are you motivated?" And that's all I need to know. Are you a motivated student? And I was like, yeah, I'm definitely motivated. I don't, but every single day I felt like I wasn't smart enough to be there, but I was motivated and I was going to get through it. And something I learned in grad school is that it doesn't even matter how intelligent you are in a lot of ways. It matters how good you are with working with teams, how good you are on projects, working on multiple things, and really how motivated are you. So that was my experience. But I still do experience that imposter syndrome all the time. So I don't know whether it ever really goes away, but it's definitely been an on and off struggle, but I've learned a lot and had a lot of growth along the way. All I got.
So ladies, is there something that you can, what has you experienced in your development and defining yourself? What has really helped you along the way to know that you belong in that room, that you can always fall back on and go, I know I belong here. Was there something that kicked that off, Freda? There's something you can elaborate on in that respect?
Okay, so it was the first time, actually, this was kind of an odd thing. So I was working as the senior mechanical engineer on this particular project, and it was a $500 million project, and I was the lead for this part, and I was really a young lead. I was in my 20s, and I was actually, I guess I can say this, I was pregnant with my first daughter, and the lead of that particular project was also a Georgia Tech graduate, Naeem, and he had led many works, and I was on maternity leave at the time, and I got a call from the only other woman on the team, which is usually when you're in a big program, there's a financial lead, and that can be a woman a lot of times back in the day. But it was the only other woman, and she called me up, and the director's name was Clem. He said, "Clem talked about you." And I was, on leave. I said, "Really?" He said, "Yeah." He said, "You should be back at work. We need you now, and he needs you now, and you should be back at work." And so she said, "You shouldn't take this." I said, "The fact that he's telling," and he said that I was slacking off. I was at home, and I should be back at work, and the project needs him. And she said, "How do you feel about this?" I said, "Well," I said, "he wouldn't be cutting me down if he didn't think I was doing a good job." And that was the moment that, when a lot of, back in those days, a lot of the senior leaders didn't understand, it's not a vacation when you're on maternity leave. And it's not, just sitting around and doing nothing. But I'll never forget that when that call that Clem said that he'd never say he missed me, but it was like I was slacking off. So that was the moment that I realized that my presence on a program when I wasn't even there mattered, and mattered a great deal.
Awesome.
Over to you, Leah.
All right, so when I realized that my contribution matters, well, I think I mentioned my conversation with Sandy. That's certainly a touch point for me. But realistically, I think there was a certain point somewhere in grad school where I was able to take a step back and realize that the talk that I had been given myself wasn't true. And when Cheryl introduced this topic, part of it was defining your individuality. And I think one of the things we wanted to touch on in this talk as well was we're each individuals, obviously. And that means we each approach problems differently. And I think, and we each have different backgrounds and interests and things like that. And as a result, I think we can get this interaction where we see ourselves not performing exactly the same or approaching problems exactly the same as others. And if we already have a bias that must mean we are wrong, then seeing how you are different can actually become sort of a negative feedback loop. But at a certain point, I realized, you know what? No, I'm just doing it different, and that's okay. I was able to take on projects at grad school. One of the parts about being in the Aerospace Systems Design Lab is you get a lot of opportunities for different projects. And I was able to, take hold of some of those projects and really dig into them. And I think I was also lucky enough to have work with several research engineers there who were also women and who knew that same background or had that same kind of history. And I knew that, that my contribution was valuable to those projects. And I think too, in some ways actually mentoring and talking to younger students was helpful as well. It's easy to forget that where you are right now is what you had aspired to get to in the past. Framing your current position as like, oh, this is where I am now. Look how far I have come, rather than, oh, look how far I have yet to go, or look how far I have, I have not yet achieved my goals. Is also a good way to say, look at what value I have at this point in my life. That was a bit rambling, but hopefully my point got across. Alana, do you have comments?
Yeah, so I already talked about that the woman that I had met that I was coworkers with at GTRI, I think she really did have a lot of influence just to see another woman in it doing so well, impacted me so much. And I continued to meet more and more of those throughout Aerospace Corporation. But I think, and I hate to generalize men, but I feel like men tend to, and I noticed this so much in undergrad, but I didn't realize it until probably my master's degree, that I often would be in a conversation of engineers, usually men, where they would try to outsmart each other and have an engineering conversation where they would bring up all these terms that were just unnecessary. And in undergrad, at the time, I was just like, oh, well, I have no idea what even happened during that conversation. I didn't understand it. And then I got to my master's where I started understanding things more and more. And it's like, they said all of these unnecessary terms that they could have just left out, and it could have just been a more simpler, productive conversation. But I do feel like you always find those groups that tend to outsmart each other in engineering. And once I started realizing that was a big click with me, that, oh, I actually am cut out for this. I'm smart enough for this. And I'm actually in a way, better than that, because I can make there's a quote that I've heard that if you can explain something to a kindergartner or a first grader or something like that's how you know you really mastered a topic. And I think that that's difficult to do for a lot of engineers. But once that clicks with you, that you can have those conversations and not try to outsmart people and just try to understand it and fully explain things to people in presentations and whatnot, then I think that realization for me was when I really came to the conclusion that I'm cut out for this, and I'm not I'm not necessarily always the dumbest person in the room, where I can handle this. Yeah, I don't know if that made any sense, but yeah.
Oh, that's good information. That makes sense to me. My favorite line, I guess one of the movies I guess it's a Philadelphia story where Denzel Washington always says, "Explain it to me like I'm a 6-year-old," because if you can get down to that point, you probably have a better understanding because it's in its simplest forms without all the, the decorative stuff around it, which is very true. So ladies, I'm just going to throw it out there in no particular order. Is there something that these women should bring into the room when they walk in there, with them to, stand up for themselves and know they belong? Is there something that you always carry with you, regardless, to keep you focused that you do belong there? And is there anything you can let them know, what should they carry into that room with them? Anyone?
I can talk about my own experience with that. So I have a history of changing my topic of interest, I suppose. I'll give you a little bit of more of a bio of myself. I started in physics, I came to aerospace engineering. When I was in grad school, I never touched anything to do with space. It was aircraft. Then I went into package logistics. I actually did my thesis on something that probably should have been in ISYE. And then I came to Aerospace Corp because I had a friend of mine was actually working at aerospace and said, "Hey, we're hiring right now." So I jumped to space, which I literally could not have told you the 6 classical orbital elements if you had asked me. I had no idea. And that can be pretty intimidating. But one thing I learned through the PhD process was know what you know what you don't know. And framing what I know and what I don't know helps me stay centered in what my role in that meeting is, or what my role in that organization is. And it helps me grow as an engineer and as a person as well. So it's okay to not be the person with all the answers, or to be the person who doesn't have all the answers. And to actually know your bounds at a particular point in time, I find will actually gain you possibly more respect than trying to BS your way through something. People respect when you say, "You know what, I don't know that, but let me get back to you." And so knowing that for myself has allowed me to be more comfortable in those situations, and I think has also facilitated my professional relationships when I'm put into those situations.
That's great.
I want to foot stomp what Leah said. And saying "I don't know" is not an impact, or does not reflect on you as a person badly. It's an honest statement if you don't know something. And that's the thing that we have to remember, is that the fact that you don't know something doesn't mean you're stupid or anything. It just means you just might not know. And that's totally fine. Bring yourself, and remember that saying you don't know means that you just don't know, and that you're honest. And that kind of feedback is very good for some people, or I think for everybody personally. So don't take things personally if you're talking about subjects that are not personal. And know that if you bring yourself, your true self, into a story, that when you have that, little person on your shoulder, providing doubts, having doubts is okay, but don't take it personally. Remember, there's always going to be someone that knows more, always. I mean, look at the bios. I have the least education, but I do have the most experience. Why? Because I'm the oldest. All right, so that's true. And it is intimidating even for me to be around Alana and Leah. I'm telling you this honestly, because also I'm the only mechanical engineer, and well, I think that just kind of speaks for itself. But we lost your video. We lost your screen again, Sheila.
Yeah.
We see you. So bring your true self. That's the advice, and don't take things personally.
And I guess I should say, as I think you guys mentioned that this is Hell Week for you, so me telling you it's okay to not know things is maybe rubbing you the wrong way as you're trying to study for all your midterms. But I guess it's also still sound advice to know what you don't know once you're walking, as you're studying for those exams. And sometimes, well, I know like, taking exams can be a really daunting process. I had a lot of history with exams. But I can also say that my experience in the professional realm is that taking an exam is very different than talking to a customer, for instance. And so I think much of my experience prior to professional life had been academic. And academia and school requires a slightly different skill set than, say, talking to, a colonel or something like that. And just because, taking an exam is daunting, that's a particular set of skills. It's important to know, where you are on that exam with that material, but it's also, you can take some of that with you when you, walk into a meeting, say, you want to join a club. But what am I trying to say here? Basically, yeah, it's Hell Week for you. Me telling you it's okay to not know things. Okay, maybe that's not true, particularly this week. But in life, it is okay. And getting comfortable with that feeling of like, oh gosh, like maybe I don't know this. I guess get comfortable with that in some ways. Like that's just going to be a part of your life. Like it's impossible to know everything. But the drive to learn more, that I think will take you pretty far.
Awesome. Alana, any helpful
Yeah,
words?
I was just going to comment on, I feel like a lot of times in my grad school meetings and just in meetings in general, what I used to do, I've gotten better, but still not perfect, but I would go into meetings thinking that if I were to speak up, I would be perceived as like the crazy woman in the room with opinions, or if I didn't speak up, then I would be like considered like the stupid person in the room. And I feel like that was always like a debate in my mind, like should I say something, should I not say something, should I ask a question, or my question's going to be stupid? And something I wish I knew earlier was that there really are no stupid questions, like especially in aerospace or any engineering. I wish that I had asked questions, and if people were to perceive them as stupid, then I don't even think that they'd be worth anybody's time, because there really aren't any. And it's okay to not know things, and it's okay to speak up and ask questions, or it's also okay to be quiet if you don't want to say anything either. But I don't know. I think that just getting over that hurdle of I'm going to be perceived this certain way was challenging. But looking back at it now, it's like I really wish that wasn't such a debate in my mind, because people aren't as concerned about you as you might think they are, or something like that. So yeah, I guess I would encourage people to speak up and ask questions, even though I'm sure everybody gets told that all the time too, that there's no stupid questions, ask questions. I think that's just really valuable advice.
Cheryl, can I follow up on
Yes.
what Alana just said?
Please do. Please
So-
do.
Okay, so this literally happened. I was texting Alana. So when I was at Tech, we were on quarters. We didn't have Hell Week. You had class, and then the next week that was it. There was no studying. So I actually had to text her, what's Hell Week? Because we didn't have it. And there was part of me that was a little bit intimidated. I felt that I should know, but I didn't know. So there you go.
Oh, there you go.
Just having discussion.
Real for life at this moment experience of not
Absolutely.
belonging in the room. Even if you're an alum of tech and you just don't know what the heck is happening. Thank you, ladies. So, ladies, are there any questions that you have? Feel free to yell out, to specific people. We'd love to hear your thoughts, comments, concerns. How are you feeling? What's going on in your head? Anything? Way too quiet. Nothing. Okay, well, I guess we. Okay.
Really quick, I know we're running out of time. You talked about like embracing your individuality and things like that. Do you have any tips on how not to compare yourself to other people? Because I think that's something we all struggle with a lot.
Excellent. Anybody?
I think it's important to set your own benchmarks. It's easy to set somebody else as the benchmark for success. But I mean, you hear all these metaphors of like people are icebergs or, hard work is an iceberg or whatever. You don't see everything happening below the surface. And to set objective benchmarks, your own goals born of your own interest will result in a more happy experience for yourself, I think, than saying, ah, shit, so-and-so just got this amazing internship at whatever. What have I done? Diddly squat. Oh, I'm such a failure. That's pretty rough on yourself. But would you have wanted that internship? Maybe your interest is getting, an internship at XYZ company instead. And so being realistic about your own goals, your own interests, I think that can help mitigate some of that comparison. It's almost like a logical fallacy in some ways, the comparison against others as a metric for your own success.
Anyone else? Greta or Alana?
I guess I would say that whenever I found myself comparing myself to others, I guess you could see it as like a chicken and egg situation, but I feel like it's typically rooted from my own insecurities about myself, and that's why I start comparing myself to other people rather than the other way around. It's not that I'm comparing myself to people and then I become insecure. So I think that, and I'm not a psychologist, so I don't know if that's real, but that's just from my experience. So I think that a lot of that is recognizing and being proud of who you are and just knowing your self-worth, writing down your accomplishments. And I know that's kind of cheesy, but I've started to do so many of those self-care things, just like writing down my accomplishments, objectively seeing how far you've come. You've made it to Georgia Tech. You've made it this far in your experience, and just recognizing that. And sometimes I feel like at Georgia Tech, I would feel like I'm in this little bubble of competitiveness almost, because everyone around me is so smart. But when you step away from that bubble and just experience the outside world, you start to realize how much you have going on for you and how far you've gotten. And so I think that once you start to have that self-worth built up, then you stop comparing yourself to others, because then you recognize how much you've achieved, and that at that point it doesn't matter what anybody else's life is. So I guess that's my 2 cents on that.
And Alana, actually, I'll comment on that, because that, I'm not an engineer, but I did graduate with a psych degree, actually. No, I did, but I won't evaluate you as a psychology major. But something that I've learned just, being in the workforce, it's kind of similar to, your goals. Every year you get an evaluation of yourself. You got to plan your goals. And I think a valuable thing that you said is to write down your accomplishments, because a lot of times we find ourselves comparing us to other people on your team or on our teams. And then when it comes time that you have to evaluate yourself and do those goals, and you find that list that you've been keeping all year long, and you look at it and you go, oh my gosh, look how much I really have accomplished and look what I have done, comparatively speaking, because we forget a lot of things. And I think it's really important what you said about writing down your accomplishments, because I can tell you I started doing that many years ago just in reference to, my goals. And once I put them on that list at the beginning of the year, because then a year goes by and you're ready to evaluate yourself and you can't remember a darn thing, but you go back to that list that you kept writing stuff up every time something great happened or that really had a profound effect on you, on something you accomplished, and keep that list. I think that was an exceptional, valuable lesson. I think was a great tip as well. And I use that today, not in engineering and not, it's almost my own self-evaluation when I do my goals each year. So I thought that was a great answer. Thank you for that. Any other questions? I know we're at the end of your meeting, but we're happy to answer anything else if you like.
Hi, I have a really quick question. Sorry, I'm kind of going over. Oh, was someone else going?
No, go ahead.
No, go right on ahead.
Okay. I was wondering how your research experience helped you prepare for a job at aerospace and how you got involved with that when you were starting out. I'm a first year, so I was just wondering if it's possible to get involved with research your first year.
Well, I'd like to ask you something. Does your father work at aerospace?
Yeah, Bill Forsey.
Yes, I know your father very well.
You wanted me to say hey?
Okay, I will tell him because he's very proud of you. We talked about you last year when you were.
Oh my gosh.
Okay, no, that's all good because he knew that I went to. So about research. I'm going to let the other people. I just wanted to say that part. All right, so I will give this over. Probably this is better for
Alana or Leah. What are your thoughts on that?
I think Alana's still on mute, so I can speak. Alana, do you have something you wanted to say?
Oh, you can go ahead. I'll think.
Oh, okay. Well, I suppose that I think you had two questions, right? How did research impact my experience in transitioning to the workforce or to like a corporation? And second, can first years get research experience? I guess I'll start with the second part. My answer is I think so. It's been a little while since I was at Tech, but my understanding is that grad students and labs are always hungry for free labor. So if you don't want any funding for it, the answer is always yes. If you want some funding for it, that'll be a bit trickier. Helps if you come in with some of your own grant and things like that. But it will, regardless, if you put the time into it, it's a really excellent mentoring experience. It'll help teach you how to approach problems. It'll teach you some really high-tech techniques. You might get to work with cool equipment or work on really cool problems. And I suppose the first place to start would be talk to your professors. See what they're doing, see what classes you like, and start talking to them. And they might be able to put you on a project. Again, especially if you're willing to essentially donate your time. As far as how research helped me with the with kind of professional work, I'd say that in addition to just kind of learning how to formulate problems, which is a fundamental part of research, and then follow those problems through to a solution, which is basically what your job wants you to do. I'd say that I had a bit of a unique experience in some ways in my research, in that ASDL is very customer facing, I suppose I'd say. A lot of the money that comes into the lab that I was working in actually comes from corporations. And so when I was doing my thesis work, we were actually had weekly, monthly phone calls with FedEx, who was giving us the money to do this research. So I was already starting to dip my toe into the corporate world and hear what their concerns and experiences were. That would be obviously different if you're doing something that's funded by an NSF grant. That's very pure science. But beyond kind of just like the actual, what does the corporate world feel about things? Working in teams, I'd say that I'm with you that I always dreaded the group projects. But work is about group projects. I'm not on a single project right now at Aerospace, nor have I ever been where I was the only person on the team. And learning how to work towards a goal together in research is a really valuable and hard to pin down skill. Exactly. And that'll be, no matter what kind of research you do, that'll be valuable.
So, and Lauren, in answering your question about first years, in what Leah said, I think so, is, I'm the recruiter and I could probably answer it the same way. It all depends, because in the true fashion of a freshman, a first year, is, what courses have you accomplished already? You haven't gotten knee deep into a lot of things to apply in a research context, but it depends on what other things you have done. Have you gone off on your own? What did you do in high school? What projects you've worked on? Even though we like to start at the sophomore level, just because you dug in a little bit more into that major you're concentrating on. But the answer is yes, we have brought on freshmen into a research environment. It just, what other things can you add to your background that you've done, outside of school or even in high school? There's some that have been involved in doing research stuff regardless of, the level you are in school, because you just like to do it. It's best to dig in more into your major before you start, digging in and doing research, primarily because at Aerospace, we want to keep you going. If you're with us for a summer, we want you to come back next summer. We want you to continue that. And at the freshman level, you may get into your major and then all of a sudden realize it's not what you want to do. You want to go in a completely different direction. So that's why we want to also wait a little bit to make sure, it's, that was the right direction for you. And coming in more at, a sophomore or junior and then continuing. But again, like Leah said, I think so, and I'll never say never, because I've been known to say, nope, no way, and, you're a freshman, you're not ready, and that doesn't stand up either. So,
I guess, sorry, sure. I guess I'll say that my experience, or my comment was specifically about finding research at Tech. But yeah, Cheryl makes a great point that we bring in a lot of interns to do research. And interns, I love mentoring interns. And we get a lot of undergraduate and grad school interns. And we put them on real projects. We don't just kind of throw you onto some side project that you just kind of twiddle your thumbs over all summer. Like, we give you real hard problems. And you get put on teams that are, that have been working on this problem potentially for years. And you are carved out a meaningful 10-week sub-project on that overall goal. And at the end of the summer, you can say, like, yeah, I actually contributed to that project.
Yep. That's very true. And you may end up presenting if you out of, finding something that, because you're thinking in a different way than others have been for years working on this project. It could be, something you present. So lots of opportunities. Anything else? I know we've pretty much run over time.
I was just also going to quickly add for Lauren's question. I remember I didn't do research my freshman year at Georgia Tech with like a professor, but I did it my sophomore year, and I know people that definitely did do it as freshmen. I wish I had done it as soon as possible. So I would say, like, definitely if you can, if you're interested in research and in engineering in general, I think it's a really good experience because I think it's like the thing most similar to being like working at a job because you're working with a team, and I remember from my experience that the professors like if you can start working like the earlier the better, because then they can keep you on for like multiple years. I know some are picky about like, I don't know, how qualified you are and all of that, but I know I guess that differs per professor, and I think that how I had done it was, I remember literally just like going onto the aerospace engineering professor's website and just scrolling down and saw who I thought looked really interesting. And I remember the first person that I thought was really interesting, because it was alphabetical, and his last name was Braun, who happens to be Dr. Robert Braun, who at the time I literally had no idea who this person was. He just sounded really impressive. It turns out he was like director of space technology at NASA. He has this huge, now I think he's like director of something for JPL. But at the time I had no idea who he was, and he was like, yeah, sure, like come talk to me. And I got